Streamer hath doneth the returnium. I returneth. Hollow. Alright, we shall unpause game and let them continue working on this weird underground tavern thingy while I eat my bowl of rice. I'm eating rice with garlic, some egg, and barbecue sauce, which means that I really need to go grocery shopping. Oh no! Giant jumping spoder was found dead. Why? Did it die of old age? Both of them did. Man, what a bummer. Hold on a second. Did you hit one water tile? You hit one fucking water tile. Dig through it. Come on. Meaning you're about to hit two more. Good job, Dwarf. And thunk. Administrator slipped into depression a couple minutes ago. Yeah, I know who that is. As long as they're not named, I don't really care. Huh? Oh. Right, yeah, they're just Ulban. I keep forgetting about this poor dwarf who just, like, went nuts. I got a few dwarves that just kind of went nuts in this fort. Alright, let's, do some up-down stairs here. Of not using enough leftovers. I'm a single dude who lives by himself. I never, ever have leftovers. I make enough for one portion that I eat right there, and that's it. I cannot remember the last time I had leftovers. If I lived with another person, then there's a world where I could see myself having leftovers, but because I just don't, like, leftovers might as well not exist. Because I know exactly the portion sizing I need because of my dietary restrictions. So it's like, yeah, I don't believe I've ever done that. I make exactly what I need at the portion sizing that I need, and that is it. Sometimes I will, like, prepare rice like this. I made this rice last night. But that's about it. Most I'll do. I'll make, like, 3 or 4 servings of rice. Because I had a snack, which was rice last night, and then I had this. And then, tonight I'm going to eat rice again. Although tonight's probably going to be rice and... I can never pronounce them. Vietnamese rice noodles? Bersemi? Bersemi? I don't know. So. Rice is indeed pretty great. It's also cheap. It's part of the reason I like rice is because of how cheap it is. It's super affordable. Dwarves seem to need new shoes. Leather shoe. 50. Make a bunch of shoes. This is going to look pretty awesome once it's got water in it again. Oh, man. A lot of my animals died of old age. I think all of my giant jumping spiders died this spring. Kinda sucks. Do I have more? Okay, I do have one. Yeah. I don't know how long giant jumping spiders live, but not very long, apparently. What's up? Dwarf Fortress has a potential release date, is what's up. Rip Spideys? Yeah. I mean, we can catch more. And what do you think? Amateur. What's your take? Lots of interesting discussion going back and forth in the DF community today. Gonna need to go read a lot of stuff tonight. And I've been like doing internal deliberations all day today without really talking about it a ton, trying to figure out how much more I should do before next week. Like, there's part of me where I'm like, I could probably grab a DF creator or so and have like an in-depth discussion on the topic of whether or not we think it should be released. But because I don't know if you know this, but this Thursday next week, so Thursday the 3rd at 3 p.m. Pacific, Tarn Adams is joining me again. So Tarn's going to come hang out on the stream for a bit and do Q&A. This will be the 6th time he's done that with us. So it'll be interesting. Advice before I decide losing is fun. A siege just arrived, and you raised your drawbridges to find out that one seems to be a drawbridge but retracting bridge over flat land. Is there anything you can do? How close are they to the stairway? Because you could wall it off. I mean, that would be the that would be the Cryptbeard's approach, which is just the fuck it approach, basically, which is an option. The fuck it option is an option. Always will be an option in Dwarf. And hope not to starve and go crazy. That is also an option, yeah. I think it really depends on how close the siege is to your entrance. What I would recommend doing is try and wall it off. I also don't know how your entrance is laid out, but as an example, I have this door up here on the left, right here. This is a artifact door, right? And that means it's indestructible, so enemies can't pass through it. But there was one time someone left a sock there. So while the goblins were running up this way, I built a 3-tile wall right here to wall off that door so they would go in the way that I needed them to go in and not that way. So that is something you could do. If that opportunity is there, you could attempt to seal it off and not have to fight them. But, I mean, if you have no other option, there's always the, grab your spatulas and pickaxes and go smack a gob in the forehead option. People joke about how, like, a door can't be held open with a sock, but I would like to beg to differ that I can indeed prop a door open with a sock, with the proper jamming technique. You could absolutely do that. There's, like, no question. You could 100% jam a door open with a sock. 100%. You will fight to the death? I mean, how big is the enemy siege? Is this, like, are we talking, like, 250 goblins plus beak dogs and a bunch of ogres? Or are we talking, like, 10 goblins and you have 20 dwarves? Because if there's only, like, 10 of them and you have, like, at least 1 or 2 soldiers, you could probably win. But regardless, fight in glory and die in battle. Better than dying at the bottom of a river. So that's my only feedback, not knowing what your layout is. We'll just let them do this for right now. Oh, that's fortifications, yeah. I will eat my rice and let them work on this. How much beer are we at? 18. Oy vey. Is anybody brewing? Do I just have no brewers? That's a bit of a problem if I have no brewers. Really wish I had more peasants, though. What's up, non-major nerd? But hello. How's things? How's your day been? What is that tile set? It's this one. It's a modified version of Krug Smash's tile set. Oh, the one that I'm currently using on the screen is a slightly updated version of that one that I just linked because I don't have a link to that one. Although I think this one is pinned on my Discord. They just vanish. They retract. So, like, you know how, an antenna, like, you can have, like, a retracting antenna on a car or a stereo? Think that. They fold into each other. It's one of the more, like, how the fuck is that supposed to work things in Dwarf Fortress, but don't worry about it, as I always say. Only the fourth? Man. More like they retract it into the second dimension. They subtract it into the second dimension. There we go. Where it just becomes flat. And then it's like a paper-thin bridge, and you just walk over it. Problem solved. That's my assumption of how drawbridges, retracting bridges work. The elves have arrived. Speaking of, hopefully this doesn't upset them. Trying to make my depot wagons accessible. Because currently it's not. Really annoying. Although, oh, that's not even the reason. Currently in an accessible depot. Hunting collectibles in Lost Ark. You poor soul. I was talking with a friend last night about Lost Ark, and it's like, my opinion on Lost Ark was pretty much set in stone. When I looked into whether or not I should be playing that game. And so the way I looked up whether or not I should be playing that game is I went to a friend of mine who streams almost entirely MMOs. And I just asked him, I was like, what's your take on Lost Ark? He's like, so grindy that I'm on my 14th alt. Just funneling all of his, like, in-game currency into his main for endgame. I'm like, well, You just completely unsold me on this video game. Congrats. Thank you. For saving me a lot of time. It's nice that people are enjoying it, though. Good to see releases get or be successful. I'm still kind of genuinely unsure how it got so big so quickly, though. You didn't know about that life? I mean, that's the full-time MMO streamer life. Where you just play MMOs all day, every day for 15 hours. When games run out of content, they're the best people to ask. Because they're like, well, I'm on my X number of vaults. Vault. All right, I'm going to go put this empty bowl back in the sink. All right. And I'm also pretty sure I can unforbid that. Quest trader. What's attacking? Nothing? What? What do you mean? Currently, we're not under attack by anything. So yeah, what do you mean by attacking? Why'd you think something was attacking, actually, is what I should be asking. A pretty easy way to tell if something is attacking in Dwarf, though, is look at the top left. If it doesn't say siege, nothing, most likely. Nope. I haven't been under attack since you got here. Nope. I mean, we did have a siege earlier today, but we made them drink a lot of water really quickly until they breathe no more. I am, however, under attack by my crushing irrelevance. That's something I'm under attack by. And crippling depression at varying degrees. The two may or may not be related. Was rapidly overhydrated. That tends to happen with sieges here. Also, today's weird because I started an hour late. So I feel like I've been streaming for like almost 8 hours, but I've only been streaming for 6. Like my brain is just completely out of whack today. There's granite. Basically, anybody who sieges this this fortress gets stay hydrated bot's worst that stay hydrated bot can offer. Which, frankly, what every goblin deserves is to stay overhydrated. But today, mostly all we've done is we've completely plugged this river. So the river is completely drained right now. So that's like the only thing we've really been doing today. We're not gonna channel that out just yet. That live downstream? You mean the people that live upstream? Because downstream is like, would be having a major drought right now. Upstream would be dealing with the sudden surprise lake that they weren't expecting. Although I'm pretty sure that this doesn't actually have any effect on the rest of the world. I'm like mostly certain that blocking off rivers like does nothing to the rest of the world. Period. You had an early lunch at work today. You felt like you should have finished an hour earlier than usual. Yeah. It's amazing how such little things can just like completely screw up our internal clocks. Like, you'd think that would be, like, kind of a small thing, right? But it turns out no. Eating food early is enough to, like, screw up our brains. You know what? Actually, let's cancel this. Right now. I'm just going to leave it designated, but I'm just going to... With an embark just downstream? It's not something that needs to be tested. Like, I'm pretty certain it doesn't. Why would I plan to not undam it? I mean, I have to undam it, more or less. I have to undam it so that I can still fill my water reservoir. This thing. For the water cannons. I'm just building cool structures at the bottom of it because I can. And then having, like, pseudo partially underwater structures. I think will be real cool. And also I'm building these underground... trenches to just have like weird water patterns, because why not? Then theoretically, because they'll be flowing, I could use them for water wheels if I wanted, but I don't have to. Not necessarily. But yes, the plan is to undam it. That was always the plan. We're also removing these ramps just for aesthetic purposes. It doesn't actually do anything. Assuming the dwarves actually seem kind of uninterested in the concept currently. There we go. Someone. Beep. One of the biggest mistakes I ever made, chat, was making an Amazon business account. My God, that shit is a waste of time. I want to get some of the most unavoidable, obnoxious spam ever from Amazon. Make a business account. When would I retire the fort? When I'm done with it. Or when I'm ready to launch an adventure. I haven't hit either of those things. My goal is to get the king in the fort. When the king is in the fort, we'll retire it. So we're just going to keep making it gaudier and bigger until we have the king in the fort, and then we're going to start running mercenaries again. Dinner's early? Well, I mean, weren't you extra hungry because, like, you know, you ate your lunch earlier than normal, so your internal clock was out anyway, and now you're like, man, I get to eat dinner at the normal time instead of early. Arn. Why is granite blocks at the bottom of the list? Super inconvenient. But now it's extra early, fair. You know, I can't remember the last time I came home to dinner just being ready. This is why people who live alone end up ordering food frequently, is because, like, I get home, and it's like, okay, now I get to make food. Sometimes I'll have, like, meals partially prepped, but like I said earlier, I never have leftovers. For various reasons. It's always a... There's been times when, like, I've been out all day, and it's just like, I come home and it's like, well, I am 1000% ordering takeout, because there's no way in hell I'm cooking dinner tonight. Do run into that. I don't know why, but I wasn't expecting the, I don't know why, but I wasn't expecting those to be dirt now. Interesting. Those are dirt tiles, not river tiles, obviously. Funny. Wasn't expecting that for some reason. Turns out I should have been. Also need to not dig up those ones. I'm also going to dig you out. Clear those out. Welcome back, Illumino, I think? Your weekend has begun? Hell yeah. What's your plans for your weekend? Hell yeah. I mean, the annoying thing to ask would be, what's your plans in DF this weekend? But anything cool you're working on? It's probably the easier question. Beard spell? That was your stream before, right? Thing. I lurked the one time, but it's been a bit. Welcome back, audio. Hope you had good dinner, too. Roommate made cornbread? Oh, I love a good cornbread. There's this restaurant out on Vancouver Island that makes a eggs Benedict on cornbread. So good. Because they make all their own cornbread in house, and it's like so fucking good. That one was Dreamboat. You think Beard Spell is pretty straightforward in a low Savage World? Gotcha. So you're just doing weird mega projects then, or? That's weird. Guess this whole chunk down here got canceled. Must have undesignated this when I was working elsewhere. Gonna make a giant fort out of Beard Spell? That shit's fun. Building really big forts in an easier biome. I'm just trying to figure out what I should do for the second half of my stream today. Or if I should just call it at like my normal time and then just spend the rest of the day reading comments, because probably do that. I don't know. We got like at least another hour and a half left. Before I gotta go figure out what in the hell or how many comments I need to respond to. Yep, I mean, we've got the river completely drained now, which means I can change the flow as I see fit, which is good fun, frankly. And I'm building a room here. I don't know what it's going to end up being, but it's a room. It might end up being absolutely nothing. Just trying to like figure out what else I can do with this riverbed. It's funny because everybody keeps saying, oh, it's probably great farmland. It's not actually. It's not even farmable. You can't even plant like stuff here, which I guess I learned for the first time today. That no, riverbeds in Dwarf Fort are not good farmlands. Future throne room for the king. Oh, true. Actually, that's not a bad idea. I should be making it out of nicer materials then. That or I could put the throne room like right here or something. Or build it like right here and like have it underneath the waterfall. I don't know. I don't know. Are we done with this yet? Not quite. They're still working on it. They're getting there. Turns out digging really long little tunnels like this takes forever. Turns out. Hey! My planter's been taken by a mood. Looks like I've got some giraffes. Hey, I do. And a honey badger. Giraffe leather uniforms for everybody, I suppose. I feel like giraffes should give a ton of meat, but probably should give more. Also gonna make more gardens. We're kind of low in the plump helmet department, so increasing that. Let's just go to the edge of this. Plump helmets are mushrooms. They are made up Dwarf Fortress mushrooms that don't actually exist. So by that I mean they're very real mushrooms that definitely exist. Definitely. Oh, shit. I thought I'd claimed all of this. That is a lot of clothing I need to claim. Crap. I mean, I think that actually, if you just go to Google and type in plump helmet. Well, I mean, so if you go to Google and you type in plump helmet, well, first off, you get images of pixel art butt plugs, but you get plump helmet people, and then those kind of purpley mushrooms. They're like a weird purple mushroom. That's a particularly good one. I don't know who drew this one, but credits to whoever drew that one, I guess. But, yeah, plump helmets. They're either purple butt plugs or tiny little purple mushrooms. Or rather large purple mushrooms, I guess. They're like, I would imagine them being like a garden giant. To me, a plump helmet is like a garden giant. And turns out, looking up garden giant is not going to get you very far on the internet. I imagine them being kind of like these guys. I imagine them being kind of like these. And yes, mushrooms can be brewed into alcohol. So that's kind of what I imagine plump helmets looking like. Yuristan plump helmet. I mean, I would watch that 2-minute parody on YouTube. I didn't even see that. But there's some really funny Dwarf Fortress crossover parody stuff out there. And Zuglar's begun his mysterious construction, which I missed because I was definitely working on other things. Black opals, copper bars, galena, apocalypal cloth, schist blocks, pyropes, opals, and then a bunch of logs. All right, good luck. This will be downstairs, and then we will build a roof on this. We'll make it look nice, I hope. How much random crap that these dwarves need to do. Actually feel kind of bad. All right. Something I should do. I'm just going to make a rather large zone here. I'm going to just set this as gather and pick fruit and just remove pick fruit from trees, which is T. So they're not going to pick fruit from trees, but they're going to gather fallen fruit. Same with right here. Which is still quite a lot of fruit. I mean, we've got coffee cherries, we've got avocado, we've got single malt grain wheat, various other things. Meaning now dwarves can just like harvest stuff from that year round, which is pretty major. Very much a underutilized mechanic, myself included. All right. Now, how can we do this? Gray giraffe has been slaughtered. So much picking up of equipment. Oh, wait, beak dog exists. Can you just die, please? Thank you. We kidnapped a beak dog from one of the goblin strongholds, and so we've stabbed it to death, and we can edit because it certainly needs to be et. Hueve. I made a mistake. I opened up Twitter. Aw, did anybody here watch the Undergrave demo stream that I did last night? It was like an hour long, and the VOD's up this morning. Because the devs just added me. On Twitter. I was like, why the fuck did I get a ping from Twitter? Well, that never happens. Anyway, Zuglar, the planter, has created a Matsisal, a rambutan wood crown, and claims it as an heirloom in the name of the family ancestor, Uzal Archward. That is a unfortunately boring artifact. It's worth a lot. It's worth 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 111,600 Zethal, which is Dwarf bucks. And this is a rambutan wood crown. All craft store ship is of the highest quality. It is studded with copper and decorated with kumquat wood and encircled with bands of alpaca wool and round galenic cabochons. This object menaces with spikes of rambutan wood, cashew wood, black opal, and red pyrope and schist. On the item is an image of a forgotten beast in black opal. Hell yeah. It's good shit. Also, random comment. Dev for Undergrave is from Brazil. That was a neat little game. If anybody's wondering what I'm talking about, it's blah, 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 this. This thing. Also has a demo, which we played yesterday, and there's a video of on the YouTube channel. It was fun. Especially if it's going to be as cheap as their last games. But just a little puzzle roguelike. Very much enjoyed it. We'll absolutely play it when it releases. For realsies. I don't understand why that crown is worth so much, though. Maybe it's just because it has so many different additions made to it? I don't know. Probably got something to do with that. What did I think of it? It's very much Pharaoh. Like, it's Pharaoh to a fault. There's definitely some quality of life features that it could use, and I don't know if it's gonna get. But it's Pharaoh. I think that the animations and the people are kind of ugly. But aside from that, it's Pharaoh. It's definitely Pharaoh. For better or for worse. Pharaoh's a classic. With good reason. But I'm receiving a phone call from suspected spam caller. Okay, well, that one. Anyway, yeah. So that's kind of my take. I've never even heard of that. Emperor Rise of the Middle Kingdom? What even is that? Because I've never heard of that before. Completely helpless in stressful situations. And why the fuck are you a ranger? Let's just give you brewing. Go make us beer, Dwarf. It's another city builder based, Sierra city builder based in China. Yeah, I never played it. Although I didn't even play much Pharaoh back in the day. I played quite a bit of Zeus and Poseidon. I really hope that Pharaoh is successful so that we get remasters of Zeus and Poseidon personally. But that's just because that's the ones that I happen to be a fan of. So we all have our own biased dreams, I suppose. Emperor feels like he takes Zeus so very, like, fantastical. Yeah, it sounds neat. I don't know. I hope that Pharaoh remaster is successful for 2 reasons. Reason number 1, I want it to be successful so that they go and remaster the other Impressions games, but the other reason I want it to be successful is because I want them to make a Pharaoh 2. You know? Like, I imagine a world where we get a Caesar 4. You know? Like, just think about that. That's what I want. Did you watch that movie review of the terrible Lord of the Ring movie made by Amazon? I thought they were making a TV show, and no. After The Hobbit, I've just kind of accepted that I will never force myself to view another big budget Tolkien-based film ever unless somehow it gets overwhelmingly amazing, positive, best movie of all time reviews because of how fucking boring The Hobbit was. Like, it was inaccurate to the books, uninteresting, not a fun movie, hard to look at. The special effects were bad. The acting was fine because the cast was fine. But, like, everything about that movie was offensively terrible to the point where it's just like, yeah, I do not. I won't even hate watch it. Like, I just don't care. You fell asleep during The Hobbit? Me too, actually, because I was still working night shift at the time when the first one came out, and I fell asleep in the movie theater for it. Did they make a Caesar 4? Okay, well, I didn't know. I thought they went up to 3. That was it. Okay, imagine a world where we get a new sequel to Caesar that isn't 3D. Wait, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Let's look up Caesar real quick. Right, that's why I don't associate it. So the second they went 3D, they started being a different franchise in my brain. I don't associate the 3D ones with the 2D ones. Yeah, that's why I'm not remembering this as a game that existed, is because it looks so different. Yeah, I don't know. But I would like to see another 2D Caesar game. I mean, like, what was it called? We got that, like, Ancient History City Builder. Fuck, what's the name of it? It came out recently. Nebuchadnezzar? Yeah, Nebuchadnezzar. Apparently I own that. Uh-oh, maybe I got press key for that. This. As this got made by a different studio and did all right. Maybe I should try playing this. I kind of just skipped it. Maybe I should try it. If I get a serious city building kick, I'll try that one. But it's been a while. Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. That was one of the most unpleasant games I've ever played. I only played the first early access version of it, and I did not like it at all. I understand that it's, like, supposed to be difficult to play, but, like, it was just... I have the same opinion of Workers and Resources Soviet Republic as I do of My Summer Car. It's, like, probably a phenomenal game. I never want to play it again. Like, it's probably great. I never, ever, ever want to play that game again. Squirrels? You mean the one with beavers? Are you thinking of Timberborn? Because Timberborn's the one with beavers. I don't know of one with squirrels. I mean, beavers are basically just big water squirrels, so, like, I can kind of see where you're coming from. They're just big squirrels with buck teeth. I'm sure it's great. It was just not a pleasant gameplay experience for me. Enfield. And I don't know if the playability of it ever improved, but it was just everything in that game was slow and clunky. But like I said, I only played the first early access version. After the Storm, yeah, but that game's way too conveyor belty. I looked at After the Storm and I thought about it. In fact, I think I installed it. But I remember that game's pretty conveyor belty. I'm not a fan of. I do kind of want to try Diplomacy is not an option, because it looks silly, but I haven't gotten around to it. But 2,500 hours, is that like all like playtime, or did you let it idle at all? Because that's a lot of hours, dude. That's a lot of hours for any game. But glad you got the value out of your money on that one. Also watched a bit of the After the Storm. I mean, like I don't like conveyor belt games, so I just won't play conveyor belt. I don't care how good your conveyor belt game is. If it's based around conveyor belts, I don't want to play it. I won't play. Oh, Diplomacy is not an option. Gotcha. Yeah, that thing looks silly, and I mean it's in early access, so it's not going anywhere. So wait for a patch or two of content and then give her a dive. We'll see how it goes. I'm super excited for the First Men though after playing that demo, because I went from being like cautiously optimistic and interested in the First Men to being ridiculously excited for that game, because there is so much fucking awesome potential in the way that game does everything. It's super cool, super keen, super duper 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 keen to play that. For you, it'd be 500 hours of playing and 2,000 hours of watching videos on how to play. Maybe not how to play, but like let's plays for sure. All playtime. Oh wow. I have about 500 hours in Cities Skylines. I have about 500 hours in Elite Dangerous, and about 5,000 hours in RimWorld. So we have pretty similar tastes. Of Lords of Magic? Oh, the First Man. Maybe just the setting. The setting and the visuals. I'm trying to remember what Lords of Magic looked like. I don't think I've ever played that game. I think that's one of those games that's like, I'm aware of its existence and I've seen screenshots, but I don't think I've ever actually played it. Didn't they release Lords of Magic on Steam like recently? Ah, they did. Yeah, I think it's color palette. Looking at Lords of Magic, I think it's color palette. Similar-ish color palette. Yeah, Lords of Magic Special Edition is on Steam. Rebellion put it out. Apparently it's good, too. Yeah, I think I played this once. Or watched a friend play it once. I can't remember. It's $5. No. But yeah, I don't know. Similar fantastical, weird fantasy setting. And fantastically weird fantasy is fun. Came with Pharaoh? Was that one of those rare magazine demos? I had a demo disc that had a demo for Roll Cage, which is a racing game that had a spiritual successor that came out relatively recently called Grip. And it only had 2 cars and 3 tracks in it. I know for fact that I played that demo for hundreds of hours because I listened to the entirety of Harry Potter books 1 through 7 on audiobook while playing that during a summer while I had strep throat. So I wasn't really talking much, and I wasn't being particularly social with my family. I was just hiding in my room with strep throat, listening to Harry Potter on audiobook, playing this demo. You binge playing then burn out? Okay. You only installed RimWorld 8 months ago, and you're only getting back to Workers and Resources Soviet Republic since they released Crime and Loyalty editions. Maybe I need to try that game again. I don't know. It was too easy after that long of playing. Oh, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, most games end up being too easy after a while. There's usually a point with games where they just become too easy, so that's not super surprising. Still sucks, but not super surprising. How many drinkers did we make? 133. Man, I really need to fix this like food capacity issue that we're running into. I'm not cooking them, am I? Better not be cooking them. Nope, we're not cooking them. Just somehow I have, like, no plump helmets. That's weird. Need to build myself a farm district? I mean, I've already kind of done that. I've been, like, thinking about this for the past little bit about how I could make, like, a river-powered farm thing underground here. But I'm thinking that it might just be easier to just, like, build a bigger farm up above. So, actually, I know for a fact it would just be easier to do it that way. Like hanging a farm over the cliff? That would be above ground farming. Not below ground farming, but it's an option. Hey, new episode of the Nextlander podcast out. Woo! But yeah, theoretically, I could do something like that. I'll think on it and probably sleep on it. But yeah, I think this might end up being the King's Quarters in the future. This might end up being the King's Quarters. That is going to be a lot of smoothing that needs to get done. Good luck, dwarves. Get to work. Yeah, I don't know. I've kind of been looking for a new game to stream recently, like something else to put into the rotation, but I also know that Caves of Cud and Jupiter Hell are both getting patches next month. And because Caves of Cud and Jupiter Hell are both getting patches next month, I know for fact that I'm going to be playing both of those next month. So, kind of because of that, I'm a little bit more just kind of twiddling my thumbs and waiting, because Jupiter Hell getting an update is going to take a week of my time, probably. And Caves of Cud getting an update going out of the beta branch and into the main branch is also going to take up a buttload of time. So, yeah, I don't know. Can I just say that recent reviews for Cyberpunk 2077 are 77% positive, and I think that that's really funny. BRB, I didn't realize you were here in the first place. See when you get back, audio. I figured you'd been AFK for a bit. Let's do that. Where the heck did the direct go? Now all I'm seeing is granite, which is not what I want. There it is. Yeah, I've been kind of like in this weird spot with the stream recently where like I kind of want to branch out and do other things right now, but also at the same time it's like I kind of feel like I shouldn't because I'm kind of having a hard enough time doing just the normal stuff recently just due to the stream being kind of quiet the past few months, and I don't want to make that worse by doing too much variety. But I don't know. I'm looking forward to that new Jupiter Hell update so bad. I want that like now. Like now. Actually, I want that like yesterday. I want to know why this particular cat insists on hanging out here so much. It keeps on canceling the constructions because it's just in the way. It's quite annoying. I wish it would stop that. How are y'all? Chat. Missionary of Cussy would like to know what is up, everybody, and how are y'all? I'm okay. Today's been a weird day. By weird, I mean we now have a possible release-ish, date-ish thing for Dwarf Fort, which is kind of whack. So that's interesting. And I thus also saw one of my favorite comments ever on the Dwarf Fortress Steam version, which is, time is becoming objective! So shoutouts to this person for being way too funny. Because currently time is subjective, but right now it's becoming objective! So I guess we can object to time then. How in the fuck do I keep running out of plump helmet spawn? Genuine question. Because I have no idea. You haven't watched it yet? TLDR, Dwarf Fortress might release this fall, but if Dwarf Fortress releases this fall, it'll probably be missing some features. It probably won't have either a mode or something, but there is a possibility it may release this fall. A possibility that it may release this fall. And I dammed off a river today. Look at that. It's all dammed off. The rest of it, the waterfall is like falling down here. So, now we are building a building. I don't know what I'm going to use this building for. And also, we entrapped a giant in a cage in here and then put a statue of the giant at the top of it so people walking by and looking down to the river will see a little statue of the giant there and know that inside of that little room is a giant that's very pissed. So, thumb your nose at it. So... You'd rather them finish the game? Yeah, I'm kind of there with you. Kind of in the same feels on that one. What are you doing, kid? Playing? Yeah, that checks out. All right, let's... I think that if they release adventure modes separately, they just need to make it very clear that there is a major update soon and use it to build hype. Otherwise, they should just release it all at once and just wait. But even though I didn't say this in my video, as a content creator who makes the majority of his money playing Dwarf Fortress, be really, really nice for them to just release it in any state, like, because I know it's going to help my stream and my channel significantly. But also, if the release is received very well, then that'll help me more. So my selfish brain is saying, make it the bestest it can be, which I don't think is very selfish, but actually, no, I didn't, because we don't have any sand on this map. We have loamy sand. I thought we had sand. I thought we had yellow sand, but it's not yellow sand. It's loamy sand, which can't be made into glass. So I have no way of making glass. So unfortunately, glass ain't happening. Uh-oh. I used the wrong... Yeah, I used granite there. Whoopsies. Yeah, me too. I also thought it was yellow sand, but it's loamy sand. But regardless, we're going to get partially underwater buildings. Well, that's cool. But we'll be able to make a big whoosh soon. You know what? Since the goblins haven't attacked me a bit, we're going to go raid these guys, except we're going to go raid them. We're not going to do anything fancy. We're going to openly attack and attempt to destroy the site. There's only 20 goblins there. We're going to go raid Ruthless... What? Ruthless Spec. We're going to go raid Ruthless Spec. Or raise Ruthless Spec. That is a lot of S's, which is why I like did a triple take when I saw it. I was like, what? We also got attacked by a peasant today, which was very scary. And one of my military dwarves went kind of nuts and then killed like a bunch of other dwarves and somehow didn't get a criminal sentence for it, and I'm shocked. Yeah, I'm gonna try and like trap cool creatures in here. Like if I could get like a were creature or some vampires that aren't the vampires that are currently insane in my old tavern, I think it'd be real fun to like give them like singled out separate prisons down here for that and stuff. So this is a pretty rad fort, if nothing else. Tis indeed a pretty rad fort. Sad part is a bunch of my giant jumping spiders died. They all died of old age on the same year, and it made me sad. My breeding pair of jumping spiders died, so I only have one now. So instead of being able to breed giant jumping spiders, I only have one giant jumping spider. And I feel like they must not have a very long lifespan because of that, because I didn't have them that long. And also, that's how you set your jail up. You have individual cages. 1x2 halls with stone doors, solitary freedom in between your forts. Yeah, I actually something that I did at the beginning of this fort, non-major nerd, was I just set up chains in my old tavern specifically for justice. So these are all prison cells. And it was kind of funny, like, having just this open plan for my prison where all the dwarves are singing and dancing around them, and they're like, and the dwarves in prison are like, I got to watch a performance. It is satisfying. I am chained. I am humiliated. It's like, well, at least you get to watch, like, I don't know, the dwarves perform Figaro and shit. It's got to be better than nothing, right? Come on. Only the prisoners got to watch the inside of their eyelids at the back of the door. Rough. You ruthless slave driver. What a monster. Don't have much more to do on this building before I can let the water flow back in. I'm actually not sure how I ended up with so many animal trainers. I'm not sure. Also, this is just me, but a video hasn't gotten as many views as this release roadmap video. A video hasn't gotten this many views for me since the last interview I did with Tarn. That's the last time a video did this well. On the first day. It's almost at 3,000 views, and it's been up since, what, a.m.? So, 7 hours, give or take. Cheers, Alan. We'll see you when we see you. I'll be on tomorrow. I think I'll probably be doing Long Death tomorrow, though. But yeah, on Friday, I will put up a video. On Friday, I will be putting up a video that you guys can watch if you so desire of announcing that Tarn will be on the stream. Next week. So, Thursday, 3 p.m. Pacific, which is the 4th or 3rd next month. I'll probably put up a video on the 25th about that. I really need to stop getting caught up in streaming things and actually just like pay my taxes though. Because I really need to go do taxes. I've been putting off taxes this year to a point where it's like kind of a concern. I need to stop doing that and just like book an appointment with my tax lady and figure out how much I owe, because it's like yeah, I've been trying to like mess with different systems for prisons in Dwarf Hort. One of my favorite, like unsuccessful but kind of funny setups was I built a prison on the edge of a cliff that had water that had water like splattering down into them. The problem was it kind of ended with like them just getting washed away or like pushed off the edge. There was one time like a dwarf got like unchained and then immediately went whoosh off the edge. Also, just a small thing worth noting, because I know a lot of people have been looking forward to this game. Tunic has a release date apparently. This game. It's the Legend of Zelda, but you're a cute fox game. Made by one dude, Andrew. That's cool. Has a release date. Speaking of games that have been in development forever, I want to say that this was announced like, I remember seeing a trailer for this in like 2018, which is kind of a bit of a while ago. But yeah, it's just Legend of Zelda, but you're a cute fox, quite literally. Like, it just looks adorable, the video game. So which means it's probably also brutally hard and a pain in the dick, but Looks incredibly well done. Yeah, no, it certainly looks like it's like a future indie darling. It's one of those games where it's like it'll either be phenomenal or really bad. So we raised Ruthless Spec. We set out 168 of spring. We wandered up to Ruthless Spec. The Crimson Pulley attacked the Stoked Wickedness. They're stoked about how wicked they are of the hate of praises at Ruthless Spec. The dwarf Besmere led the attack, and the defenders were led by the goblin Avifi Radive. Right. Okay. The dwarf outmatched the goblin with the cunning plan and had a strong positional advantage. The armors of Twinkling, inspirally led by Mistim Tygo. Inspirally led. I don't believe I've ever seen that. Clashed with 25 trolls and Ruthless Spec, slaying 9. A couple smaller fights happened. A goblin was struck down by Bim. A goblin was struck down by Lycott. A goblin was struck down by Animal. The goblin Avifi's head was smashed by Merc, so congrats, Merc, for smashing a goblin's head. Another goblin's tongue was smashed by Merc, so good for you. Cybrick clashed with 16 trolls, slaying 9. The armors of Twinkling, led only by the dwarf Mistim Tygo, clashed with 7 trolls, slaying them, all 7. And the sweltering sand looted treasure and seized livestock from Ruthless Spec. And we rampaged throughout Ruthless Spec, and the Stoked Wickedness fled Ruthless Spec, and the sweltering sand destroyed Ruthless Spec. Congratulations, we have destroyed Ruthless Spec. It is no longer a Ruthless Spec, it is now just a spec. Huzzah! What do we get? Holy Jesus, that's a lot of beak dogs. 13 beak dogs, a jet table. Whenever I see things made of jet in Dwarf Fortress, I'm always sad because it's not what I want it to be. Copper Greaves, Pond Grabber Leather Ega, a giant Ulm Leather High Boot, a Nicholas Cage, a Copper Arrow, a Troll Fur Bag, a giant Ulm Leather Amulet, Gold Scepter, Copper Low Boots, and of course, 25 silver arrows, 1 beak dog leather backpack, and some giant cave spider silk thread. Yes, you injured it, killed it, and then injured it again. Not necessarily in that order. You had to, like, have you ever, like, seen the award-winning fantastic film Zombieland? Like, you got to remember the rules of Zombieland. It's very important. Hey, there it is. See, you can kill the Biffy. Hey, Camwin. Caveman tier loot. I mean, I don't know. Beak dogs are delicious. Like, we just, like, robbed a KFC worth of beak dogs. Like, that's pretty great, I think. It's literally like DF drop fried chicken, basically. Also, now the game is saving. I'll say, Yoshi. That's quite a lot. There was one time I got 47 beak dogs from a raid. I'm not actually joking. 47. So we just, like, ate all of them. I was like, well, I guess it was, like, 1 goblin that we killed, and then it's just, like, looted treasure and stole livestock, and it was just 47 beak dogs. It was 20 and 27. We just ate all of them. That is multiple levels of pun, and I like it, non-major nerd. Lamella is just way too much. Yeah, we ate them all, like I said. They were delicious. We got a lot of beak dogs. They were very tasty. I mean, when you capture beak dogs or livestock from an enemy, they are already domesticated, so you don't need to domesticate them. When you literally, I just answered that question, Axon. When you capture a domesticated animal from an enemy, it's like they're domestic to you. You don't have to domesticate them; they're already domesticated. So yes, you can. Holy fuck, there's so many essays in the... Like, look at the length of some of these comments in this section. Like, I'm going to have a lot of reading. Like, I'm going to have several short novels to read. Like, this is the... Like, some of the most intense comment sections I think I've ever had on a video. Maybe ever. Because, like, where's that other one? There's one that's, like, twice as long as any of these. There's this person who commented twice. Damn. That's what we call strong engagement. We like that. A lot of good discussions, though. It's exciting. I mean, I don't disagree. Also kind of scary. Underwater zoo? I really don't like running zoos in Dwarf, I'll be honest. That's kind of a pain in the dick because animals have a tendency to die and, like, feeding them and, like, the... Also, like, animals have a pretty big impact on frame rate, or whatever it's worth. Although, whoa, 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 whoa. Where did all this water come from? I know that's a dumb question to ask, but, like, serious question. Where did all this water come from? Not there. Nowhere, technically. Water just appear? I'm gonna pull this lever. I don't know where this did. It didn't rain that much, man. I think the changing of the season, like, warped a bunch of water into this creek. Weird. Certainly didn't dig around it. Certainly didn't. Well, Taylor's gonna go pull the levers, so. Decide to load a world where metals are not as prominent and you only have one metal bearing, or my thought was, to hell with it, let's get a bunch of wrestlers and fist fight against a group of goblins. And it's going to be interesting to see how it turns out. If you want to know a life hack, give them all 2 shields. Give all of those dwarves double shields. That's my life hack for you. Because you can make wooden shields, I think. Yeah, you can make wooden shields. So make them wooden shields and give them all 2 shields. Because they just block everything. They never take a hit, and then they just smack things like WWE wrestlers with their shields. And cave people's foreheads in. It's pretty great. They're just like, yo, it's fucking SmackDown time. Who called us to the cage match? And they'll just, like, break your face. It's great. Who doesn't want that? Dwarves are all just like, it's face clobbering time. BRB requesting a few stacks of steel for your point. Yeah, that too. Or even make adamantine shields and go full silly. Also, wrestler combat logs are so funny. You'll see, like, goblins getting grabbed by their tongue and whipped about and shit. Alright, since we destroyed Ruthless Spec, I exit, eh? There's menaced snakes. There's another small group of baddies. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to go attack them and attempt to raise it. Wait until you see a dwarf kill a goblin with another goblin. When you see a dwarf kill a goblin with another goblin, then you've truly escalated to the next level of dwarfdom. It's just like the classic fan art, which I always love to talk about, of the lion killing of a dwarf killing a lion with a dead lion by throwing a lion at the lion and impaling the dead lion in the living lion with the lion. Thus, they, you know, killed a lion with a lion. God, I always forget that screw pump training is a thing. You give a lot of your militias 2 shields. Wooden shields can also block pretty much anything. Yeah, I mean, material doesn't actually matter for shields, right? Because once they're built, unless they're like dumped in lava or melted, they're virtually indestructible. It's like outside of like Dragonfire, which will just get, you know, melt anything, right? You can pretty much get away with like... God damn it, why do I keep running out of drink? Sorry, I'm just annoyed by this. I really shouldn't be. Let's get both of those going. I mean, nothing like, you know, just a disembodied leg that you just whack people with. Yeah, I always, people have always told me to do that, but like, I've never bothered, you know? I was like, yeah, it's a good way to train strength, but also a life hack. The Hunters Guilds train ambushing, and that is one of the hardest skills to train for combat. So if you ever need to, like, get your dwarves' ambushing skill up, if you ever want to just get your dwarves' ambushing skill up, just build a Hunters Guild. Also, dude. I need this dwarf to not be up here. Would putting a barracks in the guild help more? I mean, that doesn't really change anything. I mean, you could. One thing that you do have to do, though, is when you make a guild, which I haven't done with this one, so I can show you, hit L to go to the location screen, select the guild, and then press R until it says citizens and long-term residents only, and then any citizens or long-term residents can go there. Like this Planters Guild, the Rosie Guild, citizens and long-term residents only, or citizens only, that also works. Stoneworker, the farmer, and the ranger, this one. All right, Dwarf, you want to wake up so that we can, you know, send you away? Like, you know, get you out of this. Uneasy after being able to acquire something. You're lonely after being away from family. Grounded in reality and sometimes cruel. All right, well, currently you're being cruel to me, Dwarf, by sleeping in a spot that I need to, like, flood with water. So can you pick your sleepy ass up and get out? There you go. There you go. All right, let's get rid of this. Hey, human caravan has arrived. And of course, my wagon is still inaccessible. This is like the least accessible wagon site I've ever had. It's like distressing how inaccessible it is. All right, I thought you were coming to deconstruct that, but turns out you weren't. You're just coming to collect some pants. Also very important, but still. As much as I want to pull this off, I don't think you'll ever hit the level of tossing something across the fortress map. Why not? What's stopping you? You mean like build? Actually, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't even know who chat's talking to right now. What's so difficult about building a bridge across a map? I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out. I mean, we could, but then he would starve to death, and then, like, the whole process of everything that I did in this fort, which was draining this whole river to be able to get these corpses out of here, would be completely for naught, and I think that that's kind of a waste of time now, isn't it? Hey, Taylor, welcome back. How's it been? Well, I've built this little building in the middle of the river. That's about it. And then I built a tiny little jail cell for that giant. We destroyed a goblin site by raiding it with my hammer derfs. And that's about it. Pretty much. Been kind of quiet in the fort itself. We've only had the one siege that was at the beginning of today. I still have the 2 vampires, yeah, but they're both insane. I could theoretically try and turn them into a vampire, try and turn this into a vampire fort, but I don't really want to do that because I kind of don't like doing that. So I do have, because just running vampire forts are just kind of almost more of a pain than they're worth. Oh, right, yeah, the Merchant's Guild. Give me all the medals because I don't have enough of my own. Thank you. But yes, I would say it's been a successful few hours. And I'm about to reflood it. Yeah, from the Merchant's Guild, let me bid farewell to you and your stout dwarves. You're thinking of them sticking a cell in the river. Yeah, but the problem is, once something is insane, I can't move it from one place to another. So if I remove them from being chained up, I can't rechain them. Because they're not technically prisoners anymore. They're just insane. So I can't add them to a squad because they're insane. If I release them from their chains, they're just going to wander randomly around the fort. So it's really not that simple. They're also, like, not guaranteed to move at all. They might just, like, stand still. So if they were both still sane, I absolutely would just, like, release them, and try and entrap them in a dome somewhere, because I think that would be really cool, but unfortunately, we don't quite have that privilege available to us. I'm going to pull the river flow lever. Which is going to release both those bridges. And I literally just have one more thing where I can pull 2 levers and fills the river back up. Oh yeah, we're also attacking another goblin site right now. All right, let's go down here and do this one first. While that dwarf does that, so that's going to flow out now. Or it's going to flow out first. The waterfall. And then this one down here we'll do second. Although the best part of today was just the fact that we were finally able to get all of the poor dead dwarves out of the base of the river. that unfortunately never got a proper burial, and now they've all had a proper burial, so I feel a lot better about it now. So now we're just waiting for this lever to be pulled, and then we get to watch the river fill back up. This will be kind of fun. But yeah, if we get another opportunity to get another vampire, we'll absolutely have to give them a tomb underground somewhere. And here we go. No problem, Navy. The, what's it called? The roadmap's also up, too, if you haven't seen it yet. There it goes. Kind of thought it would flow faster, but... Although, how deep is that? Yeah, so that's like just a wall of water, basically. Like, that's like immediately full, basically. I'm quite happy with this little river construction. Also, Navy, good news. Early on in this fort, when I was building, unfortunately, your dwarf was injured permanently by obliterating themselves, falling off of this while we were constructing it, and you kind of went splat, so we had to make a memorial for you because you drowned in the year 161. But when we drained the river, we were able to recover your corpse and give you a proper burial. So I don't feel as bad anymore. I just feel kind of bad. But we were able to give you a proper burial. Slayers can sailors swim after they fall, like, I don't know, 15 stories? Like, that's the problem. Is swimming after you've fallen that far, I think, is the concern. It's the impact portion. That's a bit of a late F, Elomino, but appreciate it all the same. The fact that they've had proper burials, though, you know, it's like, you know, we've paid our respects. Tuck and roll, yeah, true. You got to be like Spider-Man when he jumps off the Empire State Building and lands on concrete, and it's fine, right? Just tuck and roll. Don't let the arms do the stretchy things, because they snappy. This is a cool fort. It's a it's paying retrospect respect. There's too many acts in that sentence. This is so fucking satisfying. Something about dwarven water physics. You know? I'm gonna help fill this thing up a little bit, you know? Like, it is filling, and the river is doing a good job. But we're gonna help fill this thing up a little bit, I think. I'm just gonna assume that there's no dwarves stuck in here. Take a peek. Well, I do see one. Kubok. Let's actually just lock him inside real quick. Cancel that. Let's just let this dwarf get out first. Where are you, Kubok? I saw you. You dreamed of falling and your magic word to float gently down with juicy fruit worked every time? What, like, is a lucid dream thing? Huh. Interesting. We appear to have done another fight. Let's see. The Crimson Pulley attacks the robust cruelty at the height of praises. And the dwarf Besmere, Girder City, led the attack. And the defenders were led by the goblin Snag Smearfiend in the early summer of 168. Besmere outmatched the goblin Snag with a cunning plan, and the attackers had a strong positional advantage in menace snakes. I wonder how menacing the snakes were. The goblin Nessu's lower left back tooth was smashed by the dwarf Aban. Punch like normal fight backs and forths. The blue text is all us striking down goblins. Yellow text is fights happening. The goblin Isu's fifth toe was smashed by the dwarf Minkot, and the goblin Ipu, Scourge Wander's left hand was smashed by the dwarf Minkot. That's neat. I never really had the ability to have any kind of like safe words to like remind myself that I was dreaming. Never been very good at that sort of thing. Whenever I don't dream very often, but when I do, it's very much a different world. My brain kind of loses all semblance of reality. It looks like it's just a lot of goblins getting smashed. There's quite a few goblins in this spot, though. Not a bad set of fights. Looks like we're clashing with multiple trolls, slaying them. Good stuff. Ah, there we go. The sweltering sand looted treasure and livestock from menaced snakes. The forces of the sweltering sand rampaged throughout the Ren Estates, and the robust cruelty fled. The sweltering sands destroyed menace snakes. We got another 6 beak dogs and a bunch of crap. More beak dogs. Also, apparently, ostrich cocks are on the menu. See, the beak dogs are listed as tame. And I'm not making up the ostrich cock. It says ostrich cock, see? I feel like that door is about to be closed. Oh, I see. Did they pull it? Oh, they did. Well, sorry to you, Dwarf. You have to walk all the way back and around in the other direction. Speaking of other direction, how's the river doing? Well, I think I have to say that this has been a pretty satisfying learning experience, damming off this river. This has not only been my most successful damming project ever, it's also been the least casualties I've ever had damming a river. So that's kind of awesome, just in and of itself. That alone is already just kind of awesome by itself. No matter how many hours I have in this game, I always have to remind myself that I still have a lot to learn, and you'll take a military dwarf? You don't want to wait for a missionary? There's, like, an unfortunate lack of, like, religion generation going on in this world, it seems. I could just, like, make a temple and appoint you to it if you wanted, but... how's a militia captain sound? Although you're lonely and bored, maybe not. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Cuss... Oh. Bye, Brick. Cussy. You are frustrated after being unable to pray to Ivoryton for too long, which I'm actually going to solve because I'm just going to give you guys all a break from training so you can just go pray. Where'd you go? I lost you. You're 114 years old, born on the 1st of Moonstone in the year 54. Unfortunately, you were just 1 year shy of being born in 55, which is very sad. His very long sideburns are neatly combed. His medium-length mustache is arranged in double braids. His very long beard is arranged in double braids. His hair is clean-shaven, and his free-lobed ears are somewhat narrow. His nose bridge is slightly His nose bridge is somewhat concave, and his heliotrope eyes are somewhat narrow. His dark peach skin is slightly wrinkled, and his hair is gray mixed with black. It's more fun when the religion happens naturally. This is true. Is there a brewer open? Is the brewer even a job? Wait, what? I'm confused. Hi, Red Octo. Are you okay? Oh, did you want to be a brewer in this fort? Because we could make you a brewer in this fort. Also, yes, brewers is definitely a job. He has incredibly calm demeanor and is shameless, absolutely unfazed by the thoughts of others. He lives a high-energy kinetic pace and is quick to anger and doesn't mind wearing something special now and again. He tends to be quick to ask help. He tends to ask others for help with difficult decisions, and that was a hard sentence to read, and thinks that he is fairly important in the grand scheme of things. He has an active imagination and tends to hang on to grievances. He needs alcohol to get through the working day and doesn't really care about anything anymore. Likes Killinite, Rose Gold, Praise Opal, Giant, Deer Hoof, Coral, Gauntlets, and the sound of the Poet of Couples, and when possible prefers to consume bloated tubers, rambutan wine, and can't stand worms. You wanted to be a brewer in this fort? Yeah, absolutely, we can do that. So this dwarf is labeled as a farmer, but they are brewing. Red Octo Air is you. And she is uneasy after a lack of decent meals for too long, but felt satisfied at work and felt pleasure after making a satisfying acquisition. Was interested remembering learning about animal dissection and felt satisfied at work. She is the daughter of Servesh and Shortast. Do you have any family in the fort? No, you're not married. You do have a lover who's not here. You have a bunch of deities, and you have one friend who's a butcher. Her very long hair is arranged in double braids, and her somewhat flattened ears have nearly fused lobes. Her heliotrope eyes have large irises, and her lips are thick, and her somewhat short head is extraordinarily broad. Her eyebrows are slightly low, and her hair is black with some gray. Her skin is dark peach. Octobear likes cert iron, lapis lazuli, giant cave spider silk, the color azure, short swords and low boots, and floodgates, and the words of the musical poem on the site of the heliotrope phrase, and the site of the wondrous lark. When possible, you prefer to consume guppy, prickleberry, wine, and absolutely you hate hamsters. She personally finds the notion that one would persevere through adversity completely abhorrent, views loyalty unfavorably, and finds those that develop skill with weapons and fighting distasteful, and respects the law and respects the development of his skill, and dreams of raising a family. She is a coward, completely overwhelmed by fear when confronted with danger. That's the best way to not die in Dwarf Fort. Fun fact. She is prone to hatreds and often develops negative feelings. That is a good way to die in Dwarf Fort. She is a perfectionist, and she has strong urges and seeks short-term rewards. That's also a pretty good way to die in Dwarf Fort. And she has a tendency to go it alone without considering the advice of others. That's a very good way to die in Dwarf Fort. She could be considered rude. Well, I mean, that'll get you into fights and arguments in Dwarf Fort. And she is rarely happy or enthusiastic. Well, that's unfortunate. And she is conflicted by this, and she values parties and merrymaking in the abstract. Mood. And she can occasionally lose focus in the matter at hand. And she has an active imagination. Mood. She has a noticeable lack of perseverance and is slow to anger. And she has a habit of stretching her body during pauses in conversation and needs alcohol to get through the working day. I spit on my microphone halfway through that somehow. Anyway. Hello, Mino. Any kind of dwarf you'd like? Because I got, like, a little bit of everything. We got, miners, we got rangers, we got clothers, we got weaponsmiths, we got farmers, we got a siege engineer for some reason, a bunch of doctors and random shit. We got a ton of military dwarves, some bards, unfortunately. We got everything. Any is fine. Well, you have a brewing degree IRL? That's rad. I went to a local brewery a couple weeks ago, just in the evening. I bust out there and had a couple drinks, and I asked the guy that it's just a tasting house, like they don't even have food. And I asked the guy that was serving me, if they had any recommendations, and he asked what I hadn't had before, and I listed off the ones on there that I hadn't had before, and he's just like, well, I made that one. I was like, all right, well, I guess I have to have that one then. It's like, literally, that's his recipe. I'm like, well, cool. Guess I'm having a plum pie beer, which was great, by the way. It was like, it was very much like a hipstery sour, but like, it was like prune plum, but it had chamomile flowers in it, which gave it kind of like a flaky, crusty kind of taste to it. So it kind of had like a pie crusty aftertaste. It was strange, but neat. But what can we give you? Well, I mean, if you really don't care, I could give you the insane cook that's been or one of the 2 insane vampires that have been chained up for ages, or like this dwarf that just lives in this prison cell because they went nuts shortly after arriving, and then went melancholic, and they just keep giving him water for some reason. So he's like completely insane, but like incapable of dying because we keep feeding him. So if you want to be like, if you say like any dwarf, I might take that statement too seriously. But here, I'll find that beer in the background for you. Curious. Any dwarf is fine. All right. Well, you can be this one then. Where was it? Yeah, plum pie sour. That. Of course, like, the website doesn't link to the specific beer, but it's their plum pie sour. Their golden plum pie sour. Anyway, Zulban is Elomino. She's humiliated after being confined within last season, felt self-pity after not learning anything for so long, was dejected after being unable to pray for so long, felt self-pity after being unable to practice the martial art for so long, and she was dejected after being unable to pray for so long, and was sad after being separated from a loved one. She dreams of mastering a skill, and this dream was realized. She never acts without prolonged deliberation, often to her own detriment and the harm of those around here. You know what? Actually, I feel kind of mean giving you an imprisoned dwarf. I'm like reading this description and getting sad. Let's just give you somebody who actually has a life. Would have been awkward if I didn't like it. I don't believe I've ever had a beer from that brewery that I've not liked. At least a little bit. Or at least found interesting. Like, the few beers that they've made that I don't like are at least interesting. Here, you can be Endok the weaponsmith. Endok. Elo. Mino. Bard is a former job of yours, really? She feels euphoric due to inebriation but bitter after getting into an argument. Was 134 years old, born on the 1st of Granite in the year 34. She is short and incredibly fat. Her very long hair is neatly combed, and she has low cheekbones. She has a prominent chin, and her heliotrope eyes are narrow. Her small lobed ears are extraordinarily broad, and her hair is gray with some white. Her skin is dark peach, and her eyebrows are somewhat high. She likes marcasite, steel, melanite, green glass, octopus leather, moose hoof, large rat parchment, that's oddly specific, and the color cream, large daggers and tables, and scepters, and goblets, and cockatiel men for their crests. Did you make that dagger? Yes, you made the large dagger that we have in this fort. She personally has a negative views of those who exercise power over others and values decorum and dignity and proper behavior. Sees war as a useful means to an end and dreams of mastering a skill. Is frequently depressed, and is confident under pressure. She finds helping others emotionally rewarding and is bashful. She can easily fall in love or develop positive feelings and doesn't mind wearing something special now and again. Tends to share her own experiences and thoughts with others, and she tends to be a bit stubborn in changing her mind about things. She tends to avoid crowds and generally is quite confident in her abilities when undertaking specific adventures. She doesn't seek out excitement and doesn't tend to hold on to grievances. She has a greedy streak, and she lives a fast-paced life. She needs alcohol to get through the working day and doesn't really care about anything anymore. But the most interesting was a chocolate chipotle stout. Okay. Probably... I've had several spicy stouts. Probably the best spicy stout I ever had was this ghost pepper stout. I had a number of years ago. It burned going down and coming out the next day. It burnt. It's like it's the only beer that made me concerned I got like an STI because fucking hell, peeing hurt the next day. But it was tasty. It was super fucking flavorful. But like the weirdest beer I've ever had that I didn't like was from a brewery called Lighthouse Brewing. And they made this beer that was a Kelp Stout. So it was a salted stout, which actually like is pretty common. Salted porters actually are pretty common. But it was a salted stout that had kelp as their salt source. That was the weirdest beer I've ever had. I want to say it was called like deep squid or something. I don't remember, but like it had an image of like a giant squid on it and an anchor. It was like anchor squid maybe. Fucking hell, can't remember. I'm not even sure what Old Bay is, so you're gonna have to explain to my uneducated Canadian brain what Old Bay is. It's like my head wants to imagine that that's something like Old Greg, but I assume that that's not accurate. One moment. You have all the time in the world. All right, let's help this river fill up. Trap go whoosh. We're gonna fire some water. Old Bay seasoning. Let's see. I feel like you missed an E at the or a G at the end of that. All right, well, should fire off any second. Can also turn this off. Oh. Well, turns out I opened up the wrong drain. I'm sure that'll help fill this up. Oh man, I didn't realize that would completely cover that. Well, that's funny. That is awesome. Definitely didn't copy paste the whole thing. Yeah, it seems like it. Yeah, I've never seen this before. What is it? For salads and meats. All right, so it's like a chicken seasoning, I guess? Huh. Urvad, the miner, has been possessed. I wonder what you're going to go for. Curious. Holy lag, Batman. Probably all the water. Crab seasoning? Yeah, I don't believe I've ever cooked crabs, so. Sweet. Well, river do be filling. Let's jump up to this. Pull that lever. And pull that lever. Actually, no, not that. Let's pull this. Pull the other drain lever. It's Cajun seasoning. I'm familiar with Cajun seasoning. So that at the very least is like an analog I understand. This miner has claimed the mason's workshop, and they're moving very slowly, so. Let's just pull them levers, dwarves. All right, yeah, the frame went bye-bye. All right, well, no new water's coming into here, so that's good. And at least we can confirm now that there isn't, like, anything stuck anywhere. Oh, please tell me that statue's still there. Whew. Oh, I would have been so sad if that statue got blown off of that. So, like, a Cajun seasoning beer. Yeah, that does sound strange. I feel like that... Because, like, I've had some almost savory beers in my life. So I could, I don't know, I could see that. It sounds odd, but I could see it. Odd and not necessarily a bad way. So I would say that the damming of this river, and thus also the undamming of this river, went very, very well. We lost some dwarves in, like, constructions above the river, but didn't lose a single dwarf in the act of actually damming it. Let's go, attack Weblack. Missions. Raise. So this is a goblin pit with 40 goblins in it. Of the Torrid Seducer and the Hate of Praises. Assuring for a surprise. I mean, they're about to get a a tidal wave. Flash floods even. Maybe that's why it's so easy to kill these goblins. I also have this lovely little dam here I didn't even really think about, but could totally build that little dam into something. Flash floods on top of a dried out dirt. No wonder if that's like some serious mudslides or something. Yeah, it's like those oh, what's it called? The all of the mudslides that happened in Arizona when they got those surprise rains this year. There's so many like GIFs on Reddit of just like these terrifying torrents of mud just like coming down the sides of cliffs. Absolutely horrifying. Your favorite brew was ever brewed was Sice Granny Smith Apple. Okay. Orange Blossom Honey and the yeast strain you used produced notes of clove and bubblegum. Not that hard to imagine. I think my favorite beer I've ever had was... Actually, no, I'm gonna do two. I'm gonna say two because one of them is almost cheating. My favorite beer that the tastiest beer that I've ever had was a rhubarb sour that was made by Four Winds Brewing and why am I blank? Fieldhouse Brewing. Four Winds and Fieldhouse Brewing. They got together and they did a rhubarb sour. It was basically just rhubarb juice, but like it was very, very, very tasty rhubarb juice. It had like it was like drinking a beer-ish fruit salad. It was just lovely. And then they only made it for like it was a very, very, very limited release. I only ever saw one bottle of it once and I bought it and it was great. The other favorite beer that I can get around here is a I'm like stuck between two actually in my brain. Probably Damn, there's too many. Now that I'm like thinking about it, I'm like stuck. Probably that rhubarb beer would be my favorite one because it's the only one I can't get anymore. But I really like spruce beer. Probably Metalhead, actually. I can't remember who makes it. It's a triple IPA. It's the only like good triple IPA I can get around here. That or like anything Strathcona Brewing makes. Rhubarb in a sour is incredible. My favorite microbrew, like my favorite microbrewery. Like to visit or beer? Because my favorite microbrewery is probably Il Sauvage. Oh, macro brew. I misread that, yeah. I have like a cheating response to that. Actually, I have two responses to that. If I can say Mission Springs, I would probably say Mission Springs. But I don't think you can even buy Mission Springs beer in stores in North America. But you go anywhere in Korea or Japan and you can find their shit everywhere. Mostly because I know where their breweries are and they're close to me. So Mission Springs is real good, but that's kind of cheating. Yeah, exactly. Like nobody in North America has heard of them because they're like the original small brewery that got really big really fast and got bought by a big company out of the greater Vancouver area, and they did that in like 2006. So like before microbreweries got big and became the popular thing, they existed and they got really big in Japan and Korea. So they're huge in Asia, but like you can't get them over here. Really? Unless like you get really lucky and a random dive bar has it on tap here. Probably Ballast Point. Does Ballast Point count as a macro brew? They're owned by major companies, I think. They got bought out a couple years ago. Ballast Point is just like I'm never mad if a place has Ballast Point. But like Ballast Point's like impossible to get up here anymore. Most of like the American like macro brews, like I don't really like Heineken or anything like that. But most of that stuff's like not even available up here anymore. The definition for me, for me, a microbrewery is a beer that I can't buy in a liquor store. If I can't like go to a liquor store and find it, and I know where they're a small enough brewery that I can walk in and see a brewer working, that's a microbrewery for me. Two Brothers? I'm not familiar with Two Brothers. Yours would probably be Samuel Adams. Samuel Adams is impossible to get here. Actually, question: I'm not just because you're saying Samuel Adams. Do you get anything by Driftwood Brewing where you're at? Because Driftwood Brewing is basically a macro brewery at this point, which are these guys. Yes, I'm legal drinking age. These guys. Ooh, that's new. I haven't seen that. What's these? Ooh. Well, I need to find a can of this. Because I've had everything else they've ever made, but not that, apparently. Yeah, there's only like a few that I've never had before that they make. Their can art is like phenomenal to the point where I guess they don't have it right now. Where is it? This one. Yeah. I have a like a full-size metal vest back patch of this. It's like this big. Like in the bottom of a container somewhere. That I bought on a whim. It's real good. It hurts to drink, but it's real good. But the reason I ask is because, like, Fat Tug is one of the only Canadian beers that I can consistently find whenever I go to the States. Actually, hold on. I'm looking in their special run. This is the best stout I've ever had, by the way. Also, probably my favorite beer artwork ever. I don't know what the fuck they did with this thing. They made it for like a summer, and then they stopped making it. It was like the year that the meteorite that people thought was a spaceship flew past us. Like that year that they made it. And I found, like, I actually hoarded bottles of this shit for a bit. Like, I had one, and I liked it so much that I went out of my way to go buy like 6 or 7 other bottles of it, and I like saved them for special occasions for like 3 years. I don't think I haven't had Dragon's Milk. Although it's gotten so much harder just to get cool beers from the States up in Canada ever since Trump got elected. Like, literally, like, within 6 months of Trump getting elected, I can no longer get Ballast Point. I can't get Elysian. I can't get Stone Brewing. I can't get, like, any of the major American-based good breweries. I can't get up here. Like, they might as well not exist, because like I used to be able to go into the liquor store and buy like a 24 variety pack of Ballast Point, and then by 2017 a 6-pack of Ballast Point went from about $12 to about $38 to $55 was the highest I ever saw them charging, because like import fees got so bad and then they just stopped importing it at a point. It was ridiculous. Yeah, none of them are, you can't find any of them up here anymore. At all. Like, they might as well not exist. The miner has created Chasseur d'Acoste, a diorite quern, and claims it is an heirloom in the name of the family ancestor Zasset Ape Syrup. I feel like I've seen that last name before, Ape Syrup. Other people have dedicated things to it. Single Whisper, the Fright of Floors. All right. It's worth 80,400 Zathal. This is a diorite quern. All craft store ship is of the highest quality. It is decorated with dog leather and encircled with bands of emerald-cut amethysts and eagle leather. Hey, it's probably the eagle from the bottom of the waterfall that was there for like 5+ years. And eagle leather and square-cut red pyropes. This object menaces with spikes of diorite and red pyrope. On the item is an image of dwarves in cave spider silk. The dwarves are laboring. The artwork relates to the foundation of hot beards by the sweltering sand of the crimson Pulley in the early spring of 155. On the item is an image of forgotten beasts in beak dog bone. But does it mean anything when dedicated to a specific ancestor, or is it just fluff? It means like they're saying, I am making this artifact and I'm giving it to my great-great-great-great-great-grandpappy's memory. And that's basically it. It's mostly fluff. It's mostly fluff, but it gives you some, like, lore. Because often they'll dedicate it to, like, an important person in that faction. So it's like, if you see a name pop up repeatedly, it's usually worth, like, looking it up in Legends to see who that person was. I've had, like, worlds where every dwarf will like dedicate their artifacts to like one person. I looked that person up. It's like, oh, that was the first king of this faction. Or like, oh, that was a necromancer that like raided everybody and murdered a whole bunch of people and then died and then got resurrected again by another necromancer and now is a scary dude in a tower out there. You know, stuff like that. Like they're often interesting characters from history. So we raided another site and got a bunch of beak dogs and a bunch of garbage. Means it must have gone well, I would think. Looks like the defenders were led by the goblin Kisru, and Besmir led the attack again, and we outmatched them. And the Golden Standards, poorly led by the dwarf Cybrek Cussie, clashed with 15 trolls, slaying 9. So Cussie led the dwarves poorly, but they did win the fight. Let's see, right up here. The Armors of Twinkling, poorly led by the dwarf Tygo, clashed with 6 trolls and slayed them. A few other smaller fights happened. Looked like some goblins got quested into tiny little itty-bitty pieces. Then the human, North Sloppy, his lower body was smashed by Rimtar. North Sloppy's lower leg was smashed by Rimtar. North Sloppy's left hand was ripped, not ripped off, just ripped by the Dwarf Rimtar. The human Sloppy's left lower arm was smashed. I think that this guy's just getting like plastered by a hammer. Tunal's right eye was smashed. Ooh. And it seems like Tunal was struck down finally by Rimtar. So Rimtar smashed his lower body, smashed his lower leg, ripped his hand, smashed his eye, crushed his arm, and crushed his other arm, and then killed him finally. They're torturing them? Pretty much, yeah, they're playing with their food. I mean, they're playing with their enemies. The Goblin Nur, his head was smashed by Lorbam. Lorbam seems to be beating the crap out of this poor goblin named Nur until eventually striking him down. Hi, Hobo, how was the race? Did cars go fast? Was it loud and fun? Did you have a good time? Was it entertaining? I hope it was a good time. The human Fathri Tom Plains lower body was ripped by Einod. I hope you had a good time. How you doing, Hobo? You missed the bot being dead all morning because Twitch decided to just turn off their old APIs for like half of the day for some reason. But yeah, great photos, dude. Those are fun to look at. I like the zoom in thing. What is the zoom in thing? Is that like an app that you can download where you can like look at a picture of yourself in super high res? Like what even is that? It was neat. The goblin Ulsa's right upper leg was ripped by the dwarf Zephon, and Ulsa second finger was smashed by the dwarf Zephon. But Haro, I hope you're doing well. The sweltering stand looted treasure and seized livestock, and we then rampaged throughout Reblock, and the Torrid Seducer fled, and we destroyed Weblack. Second guy got second by... Your second guy got... the second photo finish. Very good time. Sounds fun. Oh, yeah. Glad you had a good time. I don't know if you were looking at Discord or anything, or Twitter or anything while you were at the race, but TwitchCon got announced for this year. I'm not going for a variety of reasons, but I will go to one in 2023. I'm assuming they'll do one in 2023, so. And we got more beak dogs to slaughter. We may be short on booze, but we got no shortage of beak dog burgers, and apparently rhinos too. Maybe win ticks to 3,500. Oh, okay, that's fair. I mean, that's worth it. That's something that's worth winning tickets to, I would say. You don't know, maybe you'll go. Yeah, I'm gonna wait a year. It's just I want to see how this year goes and watch from a safe distance. Like, I never really got a whole ton out of actually going to TwitchCon aside from, like, just, you know, hanging out with people, which is something, right? Like, it's not nothing. But as far as, like, business-wise, it never was super business profitable for me to go to those conventions. And also, this morning, Dwarf Fortress got a possible release date slated for fall. So, if there is the slightest chance Dwarf Fortress releases in September, I shouldn't be at a TwitchCon. So, yeah, I think I'm just gonna have to pass this year. There's kind of like there's a world where I go to TwitchCon EU, and I think FG and Kiri are going to TwitchCon EU, but like that's out of my price range, unfortunately. So it's just bad timing for me, and it gives me good excuses to just like hide in my hole for a year longer. There's also like the part where like I haven't gone to a convention as a type 1 diabetic yet, so be more careful to begin with. So a lot of the dumb shenanigans that we used to get up to, like getting belligerently drunk and just like rampaging around town and causing trouble, can't really happen as much as it used. So maybe they'll go if Rory will do a spot. I mean, Rory's gonna be close to there, right? Rory's is gonna be in Cali by then anyway. But yeah, I'm just gonna pass on this year. Mostly because, like, I'm aware that we're in, like, the end phase of the pandemic, but, like, still don't want to get Omicron, and I don't really know what things are going to look like by then. So for me, it's like, I'm going to give it another year for people to just, like, beat that virus into submission by, like, circulating it a lot. Just going to give it another year of people just, like, making it into just a normal-ass cold, so. What date did they give? Let me open up the Twitter. I have 2 DMs, apparently. TwitchCon. Wrong thing. October 7th to 9th. Not September. October 7th to 9th for San Diego. Amsterdam is July 16th and 17th. Hey, chat. I have a very, like, unrelated question to anything to ask you. Does anybody remember me stumbling on a game called Dwarf? Developer just followed me on Twitter. But anyway, TLDR, if you don't remember me stumbling on it, it's another Dwarf fort. But apparently a lot more updated. Eh. The fact that the dev for this just followed me on Twitter. I stumbled upon that on, what's it called? On itch.io a little while ago. Dwerg is Dutch for dwarf, is it? Huh. Well, I mean, the developer is apparently in Edinburgh, so. Apparently, Clino follows them. Interesting. Closing all these extra tabs with beers. Okay, you'll wait. You don't know August or something. I mean, also considering, like, I'm telling you now, Hobo, all of the cheap flights have already been bought. All of the cheap hotels have already been booked, and tickets haven't gone on sale yet. So prices have already gone through the fucking ceiling. So there's also that. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, chat, I think I'm going to call it. We did get 8 hours in. I did start late today though, so there is that. I think now is a good time for me to call it a day. Just looking at the old stats, we're below 40 viewers. It's time to call it. So before I run away though, before you run away. If you haven't watched it yet, I recommend watching the video I put up this morning, just because it's about the possible release date for DF, or at the very least a roadmap. I will just reiterate what I've always said. If you've just lurked today or hung out, big thank you, because this channel has been painfully slow the last 2 months. We basically exist right now because of people like Rory, retired Navy vet, and other people for, you know, keeping this channel funded. But statistically, we have been a absolutely catastrophic failure the past month and a half. So if you lurked today and just hung out, thank you very much, because god damn it, I need it. Yeah, I don't know where I would be currently without people for keeping this channel funded with bits and subs and resubs and prime subs and all that good stuff. And